right now. But I'm gonna tell you, if this thing shuts off one more time, we're just gonna do this at another day. This is the Fez and the NOI, the untold story of the Fez in America as a symbol of determination, um, resistance, and also identity in America. So, inshallah, all will be well on this particular broadcast. Let's see here. Islam. So bear with me as I share this video with you. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and share this out. I'm gonna blast it. So I'm putting the post out there, and I'm gonna go ahead and share it. Right. Wait for a few more people to tune on in. Right. Wait for a few more people to tune on in. Islam. I may choose to redo this video. Um, just based on the fact that I tried to start it a few times and it was technical difficulty, and everybody was pretty much on the other post. But I made a post saying that I was going to go live, so hopefully the people come back to this post. So peace, love, all the above. Greetings. Welcome to the Cosmo Ill Show. My apologies for all of the technical difficulty earlier. So today we're going to talk about the Fez and the NOI. All right. But it's not just about the Fez and the NOI. It's also about the Fez being a symbol of self-determination, resistance, and identity. If you look on the thumbnail that I created for this particular show, you'll see a picture of Elijah Muhammad in a Fez. You'll see a picture of Farrakhan in a fez, wrapped with a turban. You'll see a picture of John Muhammad in a fez. John Muhammad is the brother of Elijah Muhammad. And so I recently had just did a video with brother Kevin Ali from his portion or aspect of the Nation of Islam. And we talked about, it was about similarities between the Nation of Islam. And so I brought up the fez. And when I brought up the Fez, it seemed as if I think something similar to what he said was, oh, the Fez belongs to all of us. You know, it's a symbol of cultural identity. And so, of course, Elijah Muhammad went from the Fez. But we can't discount that there was already a movement here and that that particular symbol had not been brought to any of the Asiatic movements in this particular in North America. And so once this symbol was brought, then it was adopted by other groups coming after it. It was not used before groups. It was used by individuals. You had individuals in North America that wore the fez and did other things, but you didn't have any organized groups established with the fez. Islam, beloveds. Oh, I'm doing fine. Islam. So the goal today here is to break down a little bit of history. Unfortunately, I had something put together for you where I could have played it. So I'm pretty much going to have to tell you, but I'll give you the resources to be able to find it. So one of the first things that I want to give you the resource to find, because I post all of this stuff on my page. If you go to the Cosmo Ill Show, there's a clip of Farrakhan, and many people have seen it. And he talks about Prophet Noble Jew Ali. And he talks about Prophet Noble Jew Ali as bringing the first to bring Islam to America. Now, this directly contradicts the teachings of the Nation of Islam, being that Farad Muhammad God in person was supposed to be the one who had brought Islam. And so Farrakhan, after Savior's Day, had mentioned this about Prophet Noble Ali. And after that, there's been a lot of discussions going on where people can't deny it anymore. But when it comes to the cultural practices like the Fez, some of the traditions that were passed down by Noble Ali to our people, it seems that, ones don't want to see that directly. So let me start with Warif Deen Muhammad. Who is Warif Deen Muhammad? Warif Deen Muhammad is the son of Elijah Muhammad. And John Muhammad is the brother of Elijah Muhammad. Now, when I mention in reference to these people, they say, well, I don't know what they're talking about. Well, let's break that down. Warif Deen Muhammad was to take over the nation of Islam after Elijah Muhammad. This is clear. Now, what he did when he took over, some was good and some was bad. Dismantling the FOI and not focusing on the businesses was something that he did. And so I'm not speaking in relationship to his leadership with the Nation of Islam, but he told a story, and this story is on my page as well. He said that the original NOI uniform, his words, not mine, the original NOI uniform was patterned after the Moorish American dress. Now, what was the Moorish American dress at that time? The Moorish American dress at that time was a blue suit with a red tie and a white shirt, and of course, a red fez, such as this. Now, this is the exact thing that was adopted by Elijah Muhammad. In fact, wearing the fez. When you look at the uniform that John Muhammad is wearing, you'll notice that it's blue and red and white. When you look at what Elijah Muhammad was wearing in the picture with the fez, you'll notice that it's a blue, red, and white uniform. They used this suit as their uniforms in the beginning, and it was adopted from the Moors. And so this is very telling, because if the uniform was adopted, then what else was adopted? And we know the fez was adopted. And we know that when the original newspaper of the NOI came out, it didn't call Farad Muhammad Allah, it called Farad Muhammad the Prophet in the newspaper, just like Noble Ali was called the Prophet. So there are many similarities that have been carried forward from the Moorish movement off into the Nation of Islam. And there's nothing wrong with that, because all movements that come one after another build on other movements. But why don't ones want to have any admission or anything like that? And I think it's because, they denied it for so long that there was any relation between the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Nation of Islam. And so I think it's just ingrained into the culture. Now, what is the Fez? What does the Fez represent? What is its origin? Where does it come from? So the Fez is named after Fez, Morocco, but its original name is Tarbush. This is what the name of the Fez is in Lughatul Arabiya. I believe it was the French who called it the Fez. It was created in Fez, Morocco, but Fez, Morocco was named after another Fez, ancient Fezan, also known as Fezania. And something I noticed about ancient Fezania or Fezan is where the word pheasant comes from. And when you look at the pheasant, you're going to see a bright red color on top of the pheasant's head. Now, I'm not saying that that's what this is, but that is something very interesting to note. The pheasant, number one, has the name Fez in it, and it comes from Fezan, which is ancient Libya. And the pheasant that comes from there happens to have a red topping on his head. It's his natural hair or feathers or whatever. So that's something to uh think about and relate to the fez. Now the fez was very controversial symbol in Turkey. And a lot of people think because the Turks adopted the fez, that the Turks are the ones who are the uh, makers of the fez. But what they did was they adopted the fez and made it a part of their military uniform. Now, this is significant because what the Turks did with their military, with the military uniform, they performed certain atrocities that now, when you look at places like Azerbaijan or some of those places over there, they look at it as a symbol of torture, of death and destruction. And then you also have to look at what the French did. When the French came in and they colonized Africa, they put the fez on top of the Moors that they colonized and had them working for them and doing war for them. So in Africa, the fez symbol in certain areas also is by certain groups was associated with oppression, but this was by design. The fez has been since it was created. It's not just a Muslim symbol or even a Moorish symbol. It is the Moorish American national headdress. But we have to understand that the headdress has high symbolic meaning to the Moors, but it is adopted by various people throughout the world. I have a book called The Secrets of the Fez. And in the Fez, I take you on a journey throughout the world, teach you about the Bantak Fez, which comes from the Philippines. And this Fez is a very interesting Fez because it's made out of weaved natural materials, reeds, and things like that. So it's an interesting Fez. Also, you have the Surat Tapi. And the Surat Tapi is a Fez. It's not red, it has multiple colors and it's very colorful fez. And this is the fez of ancient Indonesia. In fact, when the red fez with the black tassel like this came to Indonesia, they already had a fez known as the Surat Tapi. But they liked the Turkish fez so much, what they considered Turkish fez at that time, they adopted it as well, and it became known as the Turco Tapi, right? If we look in Australia and we look at the tribes over there, the Moors over there, you'll find an interesting thing. You'll see that they wear fezes that look like baskets. They have the shape of a fez and they turn them upside down on their head like a fez. But it's multiple purpose. They also take it off and they use it as a basket. This is the Martu tribe. The Martu tribe, which are the indigenous people of Australia. So you can look into the Martu tribe and see their type of headdress. So now, what does the fez represent? The fez, again, has high symbolic meaning. And for more information, you can check some of my videos on the Cosmo Ill channel. But I'm going to break something a little bit down to you right now. The fez circle around the head that encompasses the head, which is the lower part of the fez, is known for or symbolic of earthly knowledge, science, earthly knowledge. Whereas the top circle, the above circle, is known for spiritual knowledge, finite wisdom, spiritual knowledge. So here within the fez, you have the as above, so below. As above, so below, just within this fez. The fez also represents the capstone on the pyramid. If you were standing on the pyramid, well, what I'll say like this: what the fez is to the human head is what the pyramid is to the earth. It represents the storehouse of knowledge. Those who wear these fezes are knowledgeable people. Islam, peace and love, family. When you wear this fez, which is why a lot of our people, whether they're demonstrating properly or not, want to wear it because it garners respect. It garners respect because the European knows not only its high symbolism, but also its ancient origin. He also knows that this is the headdress of the Moors, those that he subjugated and labeled different names. So the significance of bringing this as a national headdress is reconnecting us with our bloodline, which is what this red represents as our bloodline. And this tassel right here represents the coming together of the 144,000s of the uniting of the Asiatics. Our tassel represents unity. Our tassel represents unity. Islam, and indeed, this is where they get the graduation cap from. Only they put the mortar board on the top and put it on the square. Now, for those who don't know, on the square is a Freemasonic term. So instead of this is for more, this is the finite knowledge or the earthly knowledge. And this is the spiritual knowledge. So when you put the mortar board, or when you put the square on top of that pyramid, what you're basically doing is putting the material knowledge over the spiritual knowledge, because the square represents the material plane. Why? It has 4 points or 4 angles. And when you look around in the world, you'll see the things that are on 4 are generally the most stable. A bed, a couch, a chair, a desk. So the square represents a strong foundation and the material world, whereas the circle, and if you notice, your head is a dome, like the celestial bodies in the sky, because all of the bodies in the sky, you can't look up and see a square body, but you can find squares in the earth, right? Because that's the foundation. We build on the square in the house. But when you look up there, what do you see? You see 360 degrees. You see the circle. All knowledge, higher knowledge, is 360 degrees. But even finite knowledge is 360 degrees. Because when you take the square and each angle is 90 degrees, and if you multiply that or add it or whatever, that's 360 degrees, or not degrees, but 360 from the angles of the square. And then when you look at the circle, you also get a 360. So there's nothing wrong with material knowledge. There's nothing wrong with 360 of material knowledge. But the problem comes when you put material knowledge over the spiritual knowledge, because the spiritual knowledge feeds the soul and the spirit of the human being. But material knowledge is for us in the world to be scientific and to sit ourselves in heaven at once and be in alignment with creation, as opposed to having creation submit to us. Being in alignment with creation, and creation will voluntarily recognize your role in creation when you are your true self. So as I'm speaking, if Morris have any questions, let me know. Let me see. I gotta pull this here to read a little bit here. Moorish kings and queens, Islam. Yeah, that's where they get the mortarboard from. So what else about the Fez? The Fez is also a symbol of resistance. When you talk about the slave rebellions or so-called slave rebellions in North America and in places like Jamaica and in places like Haiti, you don't necessarily tend to think of Moors per se. You don't necessarily tend to think of the Fez. But there is a picture of Dazaline, who supported Toussaint L'Ouverture. If you don't know who Dazaline is, you need to look him up. These are the ones responsible for the revolution in Jamaica, in Haiti, and in those areas. And guess what? They wore fezzes. Fez is a symbol of resistance. There's also another movement that came out of, and I had this written down. I can't remember the brother's name. It wasn't Jamaica, but it was one of those areas like that. Maybe not Trinidad, but Dominican Republic, I think it was. And there was also another brother, a Pan-Africanist, Garveyite type individual, who also wore the fez and had his people in fezzes. And I'm going to see if I can look this up for you real quick so I can give you the name. Marcus Garvey, the Marcus Garvey movement. You have to understand that in the Marcus Garvey movement, you had Deuce Muhammad Ali. And Deuce Muhammad Ali uh, was known to don the fez. Deuce Muhammad Ali was known to have created the phrase Africa for the Africans. And he was known to either be the editor or creator or contributor, consistent contributor to the African Times and Oriental Review, which is the newspaper of Marcus Garvey. You can look up Deuce Muhammad Ali and you can see him donning his fez. The fez during the time of the early 1900s was not uh, something that you just put on for prestige, but you didn't have the knowledge and you didn't have the character to back it up. Unfortunately, as things began to progress, people began to wear the fez and do things in the fez that was reprehensible and causing it to have a negative connotation in certain areas. And, you know, it's important for us today to hold people accountable that wear this fez. You can't just wear this fez and walk around be acting a fool. You can't just put on this fez and be acting like so-called Negro, black, and colored. This is a sign of nobility. This is a sign, this is a cultural symbol of resistance, nobility, and identity that must be preserved and protected by our people. Moorish Americans, listen to me close. We have to start protecting our culture. We have to start preserving our culture. We have to start defining what our culture is and what it means to us. If we don't do this, then you'll look up years from now and the fez won't even be yours anymore. I give you some other information on we can take the fez even further back in ancient times, where if you look at the first Egyptian pharaoh to unite Egypt, you'll see his name is Narmer. And Narmer is donning what you might look at as a short fez. They wear these kind in Tunisia, the Balkans, and other places like that. No tassel, but still technically a fez. Nigeria has many fezes, and they don't look anything like this. They're multicolored. Many of them don't have tassels, but they're still considered fezes. And so each culture has its own type of fez. This particular fez right here is specific to Moorish Americans. It has been adopted by other groups, but this particular one is our national symbol. What is the red fez? Let's see. Yes, actually, and that is something that I also have in one of my clips. Who is that? Yeah, Morris Kings and Queens. You brought up the Godfather, and that's very important because with during the time of the Godfather, you had a massive migration to America from Northwest and Southwest Africa and other people coming from other places. And so what you saw in The Godfather was a recreation of that, of people coming through Ellis Island. And you had a lot of Moors that came through there. And so when Prophet Noble Ali was talking to Moors, he was talking to Moors from across the sea. He was also talking to Moors that was already here in North America. He didn't just, there were people that were familiar with the word Moor and knew and already identified themselves with it. In fact, if you look up the Lenape tribe used to be known as Moor before it adopted an Indian identity. And you can read about this in the Delaware Code. Uh, we talk about Moorish IDs and things like this. They had IDs back then, and instead of black or white on it, it had Moor for their symbol. And there was also a school specifically for Moors, because they weren't trying to amalgamate, and we're not either. So, uh, but if we go back again in ancient times, you can also look in Sumeria. Notice that Narmer has more. Notice that Sumeria has more, pronounced in the proper language as Shumer. So when you go back there, you'll also see fezes. The conical shape head covering is what the Fez is, and it's very ancient, and it's been passed down from from melanated people to other melanated peoples. So when Prophet Noble Jew Ali brought this as a national symbol, whereas some people think, oh, he's trying to imitate the Masons, or oh, he's, whatever, they think he's whipping it up in the closet and just, making stuff up. This symbol, this cultural symbol, is a symbol that you can trace it all the way back to some of the most ancient cultures. And so us being colonized and put into the chattel slavery forgot about this symbol. We didn't know what it meant. But when other people see us with this, they know that we're coming back into our true self, our original self. Because the reason that the Masons have this is the same reason they have everything else. The Freemasons have lodges, and they go around to all the ancient indigenous cultures, whatever they can find, and they collect the secrets of those cultures, and they preserve those secrets inside the lodges. They don't create anything. They don't make anything. They just go ahead and in fact, even lodges, where that even, if you think of, you look at Native Americans, they have lodges, right? And so the Freemasons, they know what this symbol is. Now we're talking about the Shriners, right? Because the Shriners are the ancient Arabic order. They are the Muslim Masons. And they also adopted this fez, and they know where the symbol comes from, and they know who it belongs to. But they're not going to tell you. You got to join the lodge for them to tell you who you are. And then you can't tell nobody. So this is a pretty ridiculous thing to think that that this comes from the Freemasons. They're not old enough. They're not old enough, especially European Freemason. European Freemasonry is not old enough. So if there's any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and end, because I wanted to go an hour and I had this whole thing set up, but I probably will redo this again with what I had, the video that I had prepared that I was going to be bouncing in and out of. But this is just a little talk right now so I can be consistent with what I'm doing. And if there's no questions, I see one question here. What are you wearing? What does it look like I'm wearing? I've been speaking about a fez for the past 20 minutes. So, and this shirt here, this is a dashiki. This is classical West African dashiki print. So, answer your question. Anybody else? I'll give you a few minutes. Let me see. Any other questions in here? hmm Islam, Islam. Yeah, I see a lot of hate, but that's cool. So, anyways, Morris, look out for a part two of this, where I'll go a lot deeper into it, and as I work out the technical difficulties with my live, sometime next week, inshallah. And with that, I leave you. I came in the humble words of peace, Islam, peace, and to all the haters, peace, and may your heart and your mind be opened up by the Most High, so that you don't have to be in such a wretched state, and that you can enjoy life, and that you can see the beauty in life, and not be consumed by the darkness of your heart and your mind. Islam.